I'm really sorry, guys. I don't know what the deal is with. It seems like every single poker recap I do anymore, the video cuts off. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I do apologize, but hopefully you guys went and watched the recap of the first part of the video, and now we'll finish off the second part here. So as a recap, I am doing my very first horse tournament review from the Orleans that I played the $80 tournament over there. So that was really the one 7-card stud 8 or better hand that I even got to play. Like 3 hands later, the game switched to Hold'em, limit Hold'em. So now the blinds are 400, 800, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 400, 800. And I'm in the big blind with 9-8. So it's ended up raised. I end up calling the raise, because why wouldn't I? Flop comes up, Jack 10-4. Alright, I flop open-ended. I mean, with where the blinds are at, this is pretty much as good as an option as I'm going to get. So I lead out. Guy raises me. I re-raise because I had like 300 more. He ends up calling. He has King-Jack. So, I mean, I'm drawn thin, but maybe I'll get lucky. So turn card, he hits his king, shitty, and river card puts out like a deuce or a tray or something. So nothing happens there. So next thing you know, I end up going from, I played 2 hands essentially. I played 2 hands, didn't win either one of them, and I was out of my very first horse tournament. So I wasn't expecting to do well. I really thought that it was going to go close to that. I was hoping I was going to do a little bit better than that and maybe win a hand. But, I mean, showing up, or not even showing up late, but getting put into a tournament essentially like a round before the first break, it was stupid. And I should have just saved the 80 bucks, whatever. But it is what it is. And since Bill was doing well, I said, you know what, I'm going to go sit some 1-2 no limit. So I bought him for 300, sitting 1-2, and really decided I liked my table. The Orleans is a much older crowd. It's a really good sized poker room, but it's got a much older crowd there, and I find a lot of older people play a lot less aggressively. So everything was very, very low key, very small ball, no crazy big raises. And when I would throw in a decent sized raise, I mean, I got more raise everybody else fold type of plays than I think I've ever had in a session. I mean, I cannot tell you the number of times I would raise from 2 or 3 off the button with a King-9 suited type of hand and everybody folds. Alright, so I do it now with A6, everybody folds. Alright, do it again with Jack-9, everybody folds. And I mean, I was really padding my stack well just off of hands like that. One problem that I ran into, I called a raise with Ace-9. Flop came up, Ace blank blank. It was like Ace 4 or 5, something like that. It's 5-6. Either regardless, I had top pair, but I didn't feel good about my kicker, and the fact that this guy had raised under the gun made me really worried. I'd called one off the button with the Ace-9 offsuit, but I had a bad feeling about it. I really felt like he had an Ace-Jack, Ace-Queen type of hand, so I ended up. He let out on the flop for, he raised to 12 pre-flop, no, 9 pre-flop. He let out on the flop for 16. I called that. Turn card, hit, I paired one of the bottom cards, either whether it was a 4 or 5 or a tray, paired that, okay. He checked actually, which, no, I'm sorry, he bet again, he bet like 22, I think, 22 or 23. I again called. So now the river card hits, and the river card hits 7, 8, somewhere in the, no, I'm sorry, river card hits a jack. River card hits a jack. And that really, I didn't know where I was at, because I'm thinking, shit, if he did have a hand like Ace-Jack, I'm really in trouble. So he ends up checking to me, and I almost thought about taking a stab at it, because I kind of thought that was going to be the only way that I could take on the pot. But I ended up just saying, you know what, no, I checked it down, and he rolled over ace-10. So those are the type of hands that are going to happen sometimes when you play marginal aces, but at the same time, you could have had a hand like ace-8, and I would have gotten the winner. So it is what it is. That hand dropped me down a little bit, dropped me down to probably about 250 or so. I then picked up a hand with king 9 of spades and called a raise, flopped 4 spades, turned a 9. So that, not only did I call bet on the flop, called bet on the turn, and river didn't get there, which was ugly. Oh, it was ugly. Ended up dropping another like 40 on that, or 30 on that hand. Then had another hand where I had jack 10, flop came up, queen 9 blank, turn, I added, it was like a deuce, but I added a flush draw, river, neither one of them got there. So that dropped me down again. Next thing I know, off of that pot, I'm down to like $1.50 left. It was ugly. So then I ended up, a hand that really brought me back into it, I picked up pocket kings, raised to 12 after 3 people had called, everybody folded. This isn't exactly in order, this is just kind of a recap of certain not as big hands. Picked up pocket kings again later on, exact same thing happened. Picked up pocket 7s, raised, I'm sorry, no, I just called, flopped a set. That was a beautiful thing. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't 7s, it was 5s. Flopped a set of 5s. Flop came up ace 9 5, and it was, I checked around to me, I checked the flop, turn card hit a blank. The guy who had initially, it was a small blind, ended up betting out at it. I simply called, river card hit another blank. Again, he bet at it, but I mean like a small bet, like 10. It was a teeny bet. I raised it to 55, and he thought about it for a while, ended up letting it go. He showed an ace, which I was surprised he didn't call, but ended up letting that one go. So I went with that set. Had another hand with pocket 6s, and there were 4 people in the pot. Flop came up ace king 9, checked around. I should have bet at it, I didn't. Turn card hit an 8, checked all the way around. I should have bet at it, I didn't. And finally, what was it, on the river, somebody bet like, I think I was big blind on that hand. So I actually ended up throwing in a bet at the river because nobody, had done anything. I threw in like a $10 bet and was called and then raised and then called on that, so I let it go. And one guy ended up having a king, one and a 9. So they were literally just slow playing it, but both of them didn't have shit for a kicker, so they were slow playing it all the way down. If I would have taken a bet, anywhere in there, I might have been able to push them off the hand if I would have put some pressure on it. But when you make a bet like that on the river, it really just looks like you're trying to steal. So that one dropped me down a little bit, but I'd gotten back up to probably about like 250 or so, and ended up picking up pocket jacks. And both times that I got pocket jacks, they were actually 2 of my bigger hands. So I pick up pocket jacks, and flop comes up 10 4 blank, I guess. No, I'm sorry, it was queen 4 blank. And I don't put this guy on a queen at all. So I end up leading out. I want to say I was, no, I'm sorry, he was in the big blind, so he checked to me. I was off the button by 2. I let out, and I'd raised pre-flop to 13. So I let out for 16. He ends up calling. Alright. Turn card hits a 7. Now, no straights, no flushes, anything like that. But turn card hits a 7. And he ends up leading out. Now, that play throws me off. I still don't feel that he has the queen at all. But that play throws me off. So he leads out for like 25. And I say, you know what? Let's see where I'm at. And I raise it to 80 total. And mind you, he only had probably about a buck 20 in front of him before he made the 25. No, I'm sorry. He had about a buck 50 in front of him. Because he made it to 25. He had about 125 remaining in front of him. So I raised it to 80. So I figure if he makes his call, he's still got about 50 in front of him. But he ends up shoving, which at this point, it's another 50. I'm getting like 3 to 1 on my money. So I end up calling. He rolls over pocket 7. So the turn gave him a set. I'm like, you know, that sucks. But I don't see the 7s until as the river card comes out and it's another jack. So I end up spiking the set over set. Beautiful pot. Pulls down, I pull down that pot, and it ends up hitting me up to about 550 or so. I haven't even finished stacking my checks from that pot. Look down, boom, 2 aces. And I'm like, under the gun plus, no, I'm sorry, it was the very next hand. So I was 2 off of the button. Yeah, I had to have been like, now I'm like 3 off of the button. So under the gun plus 3. So it's folded to me. I end up raising to 12, I'm sorry, I raised to 12. Goes around to the guy who is now in small blind, calls. Alright. Nobody else calls. Flop comes up, king for blank. Alright. Guy checks to me, I bet. Like 25 or so, I would say. Turn card, puts another king. Obviously a scare card, but at the same time, I got a little blinded from my aces. I mean, aces are such a difficult hand because you always feel like this is your chance. More than kings, more than queens, more than anything, you feel like this is my chance. This is my chance to double up. This is my chance to boost my tournament standing. Anything. Whenever you see aces, you automatically just assume, alright, it's time to win a huge pot. It's time to get maximum value. It's double up. So when that king hit, it was a scary card, but I didn't really feel like I was behind. I still felt like I was ahead. So he ends up betting out, which I guess, you know, even more I should have realized. He ends up betting out for like 40. And I end up raising him plus 100, which almost has him all in. But he just calls, which is weird to me. He didn't shove there. Just called. River card, not an ace, which is the big thing. So I still just have 1 pair. And he ends up shoving. And it's literally for like 100 more. So I'm like 4 to 1 on my money to make this call. And I don't love making the call, but I do. And sure enough, he has ace king. So he went from having a 3-outer to hitting 2 of his outs. And it was pretty brutal, to be quite honest. And as soon as I called, it didn't look like he had a king. It's weird. It looked like he rolled over 2 queens. So I thought I got the win. And then I realized, oh shit, that's ace king. So that was a pretty brutal hand. I hadn't even finished stacking my checks. And I had to push, you know, 250 of them over to him. So literally everything I had just won with the previous hand with the set of jacks went straight over to this guy. And really there was nothing I could have done with that hand short of being a better player and getting away from it. That's kind of how I look at it. Like, there's no way, I mean, short of, I don't even think if I put him all in on the flop, I don't think he's going to get away from it. He's got ace king. You know, maybe if I, you know, if he somehow believes I have a set, he'll get away from it. But I don't think so, because if I had a set, I'm not going to shove, you know. So I really don't think there's any bet I could make on the flop that would get him to believe I had a set and to muck his top pair top kicker. I just don't think there is. So really, there's nothing I could have done from a bet standpoint. The only thing that I could have done is not make the raise on the flop, I mean on the turn, and not call the river bet. If it would have been any other hand but aces, I might have been able to be quite honest. But I just couldn't do it. And I know that's a part of my game that I need to get better at. I still have somewhat of an issue sometimes of overplaying one pair. I've gotten a lot better with it. My biggest problem with me is I would overplay like one pair with something like a jack or a 10. Ace 10 type of hand. Call a guy's raise, flop a 10, and overplay that. He's sitting there with pocket queens. That's where I've gotten better at overplaying hands like that. But when it comes to aces in that spot, there are players who are good enough to get away from that. I'm not one of them yet. And it was a very costly error, but it did help me see a part of my game that I got to get better at. And the biggest and best players in the world can muck aces. They know when they need to muck their aces. They know when it can no longer win. And I know that's just going to come with time. That's just going to come with doing more, playing more hands, seeing more pots. Eventually that's going to get better, and I'm going to be able to make those good folds and those big folds for, when pots get that huge, you can get away from them. I just am not there yet. Phil Hellmuth, he would have mucked that hand. Pretty much anybody probably would have mucked that hand. Maybe not in a cash game because, hey, you can rebuy. Tournament, no question. Tournament, I might have been able to get away from it. Probably not, though. I'm man enough to admit, no, I don't even know why I'm saying it. I wouldn't have gotten away from it. I would have gone broke. So that was really the biggest hand of the night. I ended up, after that, getting knocked down a couple more hands. Took a little bit of a break, walked around, just had to clear my head. But I then picked up pocket jacks again, and amazingly, pocket jacks held up twice, this time against the guy who had king queen, and flopped a flush draw. Thankfully it didn't get there, so I ended up pulling down a decent sized pot with that, which got me back up to about 300 or so. Then really just got pretty aggressive and took down a couple other pots. Nothing special, just a raise here, a raise there, and just being pretty aggressive. Then a really solid hand for me. I picked up ace queen, and the flop came up queen jack like 4, queen jack 5, and obviously a top pair, top kicker. This guy ended up having a jack and called me all the way down. So I was a little scared he was going to roll over queen jack at the end, but thankfully just rolled over a jack. So that hand actually got me up to like 380 or so, and ended up pulling down like 2 pots after that, and then said, you know what, at this point I've been playing for like 10.5 hours. I'd gotten back up so I could book a decent win, well, a $100 win. I don't like weaving if I'm not going to book at least a $100 win. I just don't. And that's part of what it was. When I'd gotten back up to like the 350, I almost thought, you know what, just clock out, take the 50 bucks, whatever. So you know what, no, I'm going to keep grinding it out. I'm going to at least, either I'm going to leave even, or I'm going to leave up 100. I don't like that middle ground. That's why a lot of times, you guys, I've mentioned before, where if I have 50 bucks, I'll go put it on a roulette spin and try to either double it or lose it. I hate having that in between. Though technically, any penny helps, or every penny helps. So I probably shouldn't do dumb shit like that, but sometimes the degenerate gambler side of me comes out. So I was able to book a win, got a nice $100 win. So I actually, when you factor in the tournament, eating Sbarros for lunch, tips to the waitress, all that, I ended up leaving the casino with exactly the same amount of money in my pocket. So technically, I did book a little bit of a win. I was meaning from a cash game standpoint. So I did end up booking another, a nice $100 cash game win. So hopefully I'm going to head on out again. By the end of this weekend, Bill and I are even thinking about maybe taking a trip to California and going to play at Commerce. I don't know why we do dumb shit. But regardless, I'll definitely be doing some more playing here on the felt here soon. So definitely stay tuned to MatthewMailey.com and see all the action. So really the biggest hand for discussion today is the aces versus ace-king hand. what do you guys think? I mean, do you feel that you are a good enough player to have gotten rid of aces in that spot? Do you really think I should have been able to put him on ace-king? Or even if not ace-king, on a hand like king-queen even? What do you guys think? I always want to hear your guys' opinion, and let me know. I mean, do you think that's just kind of a, you know, that's just how life is type of hand with the aces in that spot? Or do you think that that is just a sign that I do need to improve a lot still so that I can get to that point where I can muck aces in that spot? Let me know what you guys think. As always, love to hear your guys' opinions. So drop it in the comment section, email me, text me, whatever. Just send me your opinions. So as always, I am Matthew Maley. This is MatthewMaley.com. And thank you guys for checking out my videos. So there you have it. The recap of my very first horse tournament, as well as my 1-2 no limit session, all from the Orleans. Horse tournament went horribly, but I did book a $100 win in the cash game, so that's pretty solid. So as always, thank you guys for checking out my videos. Of course, you can check out the rest of them on MatthewMaley.com. Check out the current video blog tab for 2013, as well as all my previous videos from 2012, 11, and 10. You can also check me out directly on YouTube if you like. Just search for Matthew Maley Poker or MatthewMaley.com. You can get all my videos on there to like, comment, and subscribe to. You can also check me out on Facebook if you like. Just search for Matthew Maley Poker. Got all my videos on there. So check it out, like the page, suggest to your friends, all that. Follow your boy on Twitter at Matthew Maley. And finally, check me out on Instagram at Matthew Maley Poker. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace out, y'all.